In a post-apocalyptic world, a woman named Juliet drives through desolate and devastated lands, facing a hostile environment filled with dangers. The search for essential resources to survive has become her routine, and she always makes sure to be armed with a weapon she carries with her, feeling the need to be ready to use it at any moment against anything or anyone who might represent a threat. One day, on one of her expeditions, Juliet decides to stop at a gas station, harboring the hope of finding food there. However, her plans are quickly thwarted when she hears a menacing growl coming from the upper floor, and her survival instincts trigger her immediate escape. In her vehicle, Juliet contacts her friend Harry, who is worried and wants to know if she managed to gather some food supplies for the group of 39 people, who depend on her leadership for survival. Juliet, somewhat desolate, informs Harry that the gas station was empty and that she opted for a shortcut back to the base, hastily ending the conversation as her radio battery is almost depleted. On her way back, Juliet encounters a trailer, where she finds a severely injured man, a scene that could freeze anyone's blood. Facing the stranger, and with her survival instincts heightened, Juliet points her gun at him and demands to know where the creature he mentioned went. The old man, with a trembling and pained voice, reveals that he managed to lock the creature inside the trailer and informs Juliet that there are also canned foods inside his vehicle. As Juliet is about to enter the trailer, the man, consumed by pain, asks her to end his suffering, expressing a deep fear of being devoured by a monster, or as he refers to it, a reaper. Juliet, however, refuses to waste a bullet on him, displaying an unperturbed coldness while assessing the situation. Indifferently, Juliet suggests that he choose between dying by removing his hand from his wound or living and accompanying her. Feeling she has already lost too much time, she decides to enter the trailer and confront the creature that haunted the place. The battle inside the vehicle is intense, the windows shatter, and the trailer violently shakes as the two forces clash fiercely. However, in the end, Juliet prevails and manages to eliminate the Reaper. Exhausted and panting, she exits the trailer only to find the man's lifeless body lying on the ground, and without a second thought, she begins to gather all his valuable belongings and food supplies. With a heavy heart and her mind racing, Juliet resumes her journey on the road, driving in silence as she observes a photo of herself with a man. However, the photo is abruptly snatched from her hands by the wind, and when she tries to recover it, she becomes distracted and loses focus, causing her to lose control of the vehicle, which then rolls over. In a quick flashback, we are taken to a time before the apocalypse, where Juliet is seen standing in an art gallery, surrounded by works that once inspired her. The gallery owner, Jack, approaches her and tries to flirt, but Juliet is not in the mood to socialize, sinking into her own solitude. She admits to Jack that she only came there because it was raining outside, a truth that seems to not bother Jack. As the rain continues to fall, he encourages her to pay attention to the beautiful artworks around her, asking her to open her eyes to the beauty that exists. The memory is soft and nostalgic, a glimpse of a time when Juliet's concerns were very different. Back in the present, Juliet regains consciousness and feels a sharp pain emanating from an exposed fracture in her leg, a brutal reminder of her new reality. With great difficulty, she realizes she has lost her weapon, spotting it a few meters away, a vital object that could make the difference between life and death. Juliet tries with all her might to call for help on the communication radio, but all her efforts seem fruitless, and upon realizing that Reapers are more active at night, the pressure intensifies for her to quickly find a way to retrieve her gun. Using a makeshift stick, Juliet extends the object towards her weapon and almost manages to grasp it, but the makeshift tool separates under the strain, and she fails once again. A new memory surfaces, this time of a relaxed moment. Juliet left the gallery with Jack and walked down the street eating something while he told jokes, making her laugh at one that involved meat. The vegetarian Juliet, upon hearing this, quickly spits out what she was eating, but instead of getting angry, she enjoyed the situation. Juliet eventually accepted Jack's invitation to go to his apartment, where she was amazed to see the beauty of his home. The atmosphere was light and filled with laughter as they shared drinks and snacks, but as the conversation progressed, Juliet began to struggle with her tendency to open up, hesitating to share details about her life, even refusing to tell her name when Jack asked for it. Moments of laughter turned into tensions, and suddenly, she insisted on leaving, but after some insistence and persuasion, she finally revealed her name, and Jack did the same. However, the course of the story takes a dark turn when Jack encounters Juliet again, this time with another man, in a bar. Intrigued and concerned, Jack follows her outside the bar and witnesses the transaction where the man pays Juliet for an illicit substance. Jack watches the scene, noting that Juliet refuses the other man's kiss, and by following her, he finds out that she is a dealer. The situation Juliet found herself in becomes alarming, as she needed to repurchase her apartment from another dealer she was indebted to. Upon entering the place, Jack is shocked to see how precarious Juliet's condition is, as she is mired in addiction. Confused and not knowing how to help, Jack tries to strike up a conversation, but Juliet becomes visibly irritated and responds curtly, not allowing him to get close. He offers his help, but she categorically refuses, telling him to leave. Jack, feeling remorse for having followed Juliet to her home, realizes that the woman he has begun to care for is also an addict. Disappointed, he eventually leaves her apartment, marking the end of a potential relationship before it even began. Back in the present, Juliet finally manages to free her leg, which was trapped in the steering wheel. She improvises a tourniquet to control the bleeding before cleaning her wound with alcohol, facing the excruciating pain and pushing the exposed bone back into place. After bandaging the wound, she fixes her radio, determined to call Harry and inform him that she has been injured. Frustration takes over Juliet as she realizes that no one is responding to her calls, and when she hears a Reaper approaching, her adrenaline surges. Skillfully and hurriedly, she crawls out of the car in hopes of recovering her weapon, knowing that her survival depends on it. Juliet remains silent as she watches the Reaper, with tension filling her body, ready to shoot if the creature spots her. However, the silence is broken by Harry's call, prompting Juliet to dispose of her radio to distract the humanoid monster. Anxiety consumes her, as she is nearly certain that the Reaper will find her, but surprisingly, the monster hears another Reaper from afar and walks away, leaving Juliet relieved amid her despair. Alone now, she hastens to reload her weapon, aware of the need to be prepared for whatever comes next. Next, we are brought to a moment in the past where Juliet, visibly shaken, visits Jack in his apartment. He does not ask questions about what happened but cares for her, cleaning her wounds and ensuring she feels at least a little better before leaving her to rest in a room to sleep. The next morning, Juliet expresses her gratitude to Jack and joins him for breakfast, a moment of simplicity amid the emotional chaos she was experiencing. During the meal, Jack opens up to Juliet about his past, revealing that he faced great hardships in America after his parents' death, but managed to adapt to the new life, urging Juliet that maybe she could do the same. However, Juliet's insecurity is palpable, and when she asks Jack if she could take a walk around the block for some fresh air, he realizes that what she really wanted was a dose of the drug. Offended and feeling misunderstood, Juliet tries to leave, but finds the elevator blocked, forcing her to confront the situation. In a moment of frustration, she demands Jack let her go, but he refuses, firmly stating that she will stay with him until she can break free from the addiction. Enraged, Juliet starts throwing a fit, breaking objects and uncontrollably venting her rage on Jack's apartment decor. However, Jack is not intimidated, he hugs her tightly until she begins to calm down, and in this vulnerable act, they share a kiss. Back in the apocalyptic present, Juliet throws some glow sticks outside the vehicle to look for any Reapers nearby. When nothing happens, she slowly walks towards her radio, still aware of her surroundings. Suddenly, she hears a sound from behind and instinctively throws more glow sticks in different directions until she locates the Reaper perched on top of her car. Without hesitation, Juliet shoots the creature and quickly returns to the interior of her vehicle, where she quietly waits for the next appearance of the monster. Then, the Reaper suddenly appears, yanking the window cover as it tries to reach for Juliet's foot. Struggling to break free, she starts the car and presses down on the accelerator, causing the wheels to spin hard and run over the creature. After the collision, Juliet waits once more for the Reaper, firing a few shots when she sees it running, unaware that the creature is already inside the vehicle behind her. Startled, Juliet shoots at the Reaper, forcing it to retreat before attempting to fix her radio with trembling hands. In a desperate moment, Juliet tries to drink some alcohol to calm her nerves, but upon checking, she realizes her flask is empty. In another memory, she and Jack are seen moving into their new house. Juliet is thrilled to be with Jack, but at the same time anxious about the changes in their lives. Jack, noticing her nervousness, gently touches her face to make her smile. He then shows her the room their future child would use, but Juliet, filled with doubts, expresses insecurity about being a good mother and whether she could make their child happy. Jack, on the other hand, is not worried about that. He believes that the most important thing is to try to make things work. Before they explore other parts of the house, Jack asks Juliet to say she loves him. Although Juliet does not respond directly, he can feel the love emanating from her. Later on, Juliet reluctantly informs Jack that she is pregnant, making him extremely happy. Unfortunately, what should have been a moment of joy turns into tragedy when Juliet gives birth to a stillborn baby, and the couple has to endure the pain of going home to an empty nursery. Back in Juliet's depressing reality, she finally manages to fix her radio and establish contact with Harry, sharing her situation and location with him. However, communication between Juliet and Harry becomes confused due to the weak signal, and she can only hear something about a locator beacon. After the conversation, Juliet grabs the beacon and strives to follow the instructions in the manual. When the beacon finally works, Juliet begins barricading the windows, only to realize that a Reaper is waiting for her outside. The creature attempts to get inside the vehicle as Juliet presses her foot against the window cover, and after injuring its fingers, the monster eventually retreats. Juliet then secures the cover with a rod and prepares to shoot as the creature repeatedly strikes her car from different angles. Suddenly, Juliet receives a call from Harry and informs him that she is being attacked by a Reaper, prompting her friend to instruct her to use her flashlight against it. Harry is sure that the Reaper will go away since they hate bright lights, but Juliet tells him that her flashlight is broken. Now that Harry and his team are on their way to rescue Juliet, she realizes that she just needs to wait a little longer. But the creature is far from giving up on trying to reach Juliet and breaks the car's windshield, leaving her exposed. With no more options, she turns on her headlights and finally drives the monster away. Once the Reaper is gone, Juliet calls Harry again and asks him when they will arrive, but the man apologetically tells her she won't be rescued until sunrise. In a flashback, Jack scolds Juliet for always trying to run away, expressing his exhaustion from worrying about her whenever she goes missing, but Juliet refuses to listen. She then confronts Jack, demanding that he admit he blamed her for the loss of their baby, but Jack quickly denies it. Juliet insists that Jack pushed her into having a child even though she didn't want to, but Jack refuses to argue with her about it. Fed up, Jack gets out of the car and intends to take the subway, finally confessing to Juliet that her past as a junkie was the reason their baby died. In that painful moment, Jack ends their relationship and walks away, while Juliet, crying, yells that she doesn't need him. Hours later, after having a few drinks in a bar, Juliet learns from the news that there had been an attack at the subway station, killing more than 30 people. Horrified, she finally answers a call she had been ignoring, only to find out that Jack was among those who got hurt, and quickly leaves the place in shock. Back in the present, Juliet hears a vehicle pass by and honks the horn in hopes of getting its attention. A cyclist then stops alongside her, and the man offers to help her. Unfortunately, what Juliet does not know is that the man is a cannibal, and his intentions are deeply malicious, as he attempts to stab her. At that critical moment, a Reaper appears, attacking the cannibal mercilessly. The monster crushes the cannibal's skull brutally, causing his friends to flee in panic, a horrific scene that Juliet observes in silence. After seeing the Reaper feast on the cannibal, Juliet quickly checks how many bullets she has left, slowly placing the gun under her chin as she plunges into dark thoughts about death. While contemplating ending her own life, a powerful memory hits her. She recalls how Jack looked in the hospital on the night of the subway attack. His larynx and trachea were burned due to the gas used in the attack, leaving him unable to speak. When Juliet entered Jack's room, she immediately apologized for what happened, and Jack could only touch the thick plastic barrier separating them. Using a whiteboard and a marker, a weak Jack told Juliet he loved her and asked her never to give up, and as Juliet thinks of this pivotal moment, she suddenly puts the gun down. Determined to survive, Juliet takes a flare and 2 fuel containers out of the vehicle, dousing one with gasoline. She then lights the flare and waves it, attracting the Reaper's attention. As the creature approaches, Juliet guides it to the container she had prepared earlier. As the creature stands on the fuel-soaked ground, Juliet fires at the container, hoping to kill it with the explosion. However, to her frustration, the creature survives and manages to escape. Once again in danger, Juliet keeps her guard up, unaware that the Reaper is approaching from behind. The Reaper tries to grab Juliet's neck and makes her drop the gun. She quickly crawls back into the car, but the creature pulls her out, causing her wound to bleed profusely. As the creature approaches, Juliet manages to grab the gun she had dropped and shoots the Reaper twice. After realizing that the creature is dead, she is relieved. She watches the stars shining in the sky, the bitter memory of Jack's death flooding her mind, a painful reminder that leaves her feeling alone. As the sun finally begins to rise, the Reaper moves again. Still alive, it crawls towards Juliet, but she fails to shoot the creature, as the gun is empty. In a hurry, she reloads the pistol, terrified that her end could come at any moment. Now that the Reaper is on top of her, Juliet can only stand still as the creature gently touches her face, making her realize that it is Jack. In that moment, she remembers the day she met Jack, when he told her that he believed in destiny and that the universe had a way of bringing people together. Skeptical, Juliet asked Jack what he would do if she decided to leave him at that moment, and as a grand romantic gesture, Jack closed the gallery and decided to go home with her. Returning to the present, Juliet can't hold back the tears and finally declares her love to Jack. She hugs him, resting her head on his shoulder, and now that she has finally found her way back to him, Juliet decides that together they must go to the afterlife. So as a final action, she puts an end to both of them.